Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Growing Geeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, 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 yo. That's groovy. I want to have a whole track list with that. I like that song. What's going on, people? How y'all doing this afternoon, this evening? Weigh-in Wednesday. We are Grown A Geeks. We got a special show tonight. We're going to highlight Man's here. One of the very, very talented people that I know. And get to talk about something really cool that he's going to be doing. Something he's a part of. We mentioned it a couple of times here recently, so some of you may already know about it. If you follow him, JPNT17, he's on Instagram. Definitely find him there. Why is this not? Okay, reload. There we go. I'm like, why is it not playing? It wouldn't let me see the live show. But yeah, if you follow him on Instagram, he's posted about it, and the information is there. But there is a showcase coming up. Is it what would be the proper term for it? Is it a tribute? It's an homage.
Yeah, it's a tribute. I think, kind of talk just artists expressing themselves using like his lens as influence.
All right. I know there's a lot of talk these days, especially, there's a particular radio show that plays a lot of times in the morning, a famous talk show. A lot of celebrities like to go on, and it's where a lot of people get to break news and make announcements. And one of the things they've been talking about a lot lately is giving people their flowers now. You know what I'm saying? Oftentimes we see with whether it be celebrities, artists, musicians, whatever the case may be, um, things happen, people pass, and oftentimes when it happens, that's when you suddenly see everyone's like, "Oh, he was my favorite, and I've always liked this," and and I believe it's very important to recognize people while they're here to appreciate the recognition. Um, and while some people may view him as a controversial director, I don't think anybody can discredit the sheer talent from Spike Lee. And he's been kind of an anarchist and a rebel, always been a person that kind of moves to the beat of his own drum. In some cases, that meant, you know, having to make the music himself.
But a lot of that also was out of necessity because he wasn't given opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
This is
think a
true.
lot of times people look at a lot of the ways that things got done during that hip hop generation, and you know people just see, oh, they were breaking the law, they're cutting corners, they're this, they're that. And it's like, well, yeah, because nobody supported them. They didn't have the same infrastructure. They didn't have, you know, MTV beating down their door to play their videos. They didn't have, Spike Lee didn't have, you know, studios jumping out of the woodwork to get his next films financed. So, a lot of that rebelliousness was like in response to the way the industry made him an outsider and kept him an outsider for a very, very long time. Um, I think they definitely were okay with kind of relegating him to that. You're the black director. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as long as you know, you can like keep it over there, and I guess that's okay. Once our kids start watching your stuff, then it becomes, a problem. And that's why we're not going to recognize something like Do the Right Thing. We're going to give the award to Driving Miss Daisy because that's where our sensibilities as a culture lay at that time. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and so you look at like when people just start talking about the great directors, the great American directors. Spike Lee, obviously, like I think everybody would admit, he sits at the top of that great black director conversation.
Right.
But I think that in a lot of ways, because he sits at the top of that conversation, he often gets left out of the other conversations, which I think he has just as much of a right to be involved in, which is that great American director, great director, period. You know what I mean? Like, he has, I feel, everything that you want from a storyteller.
Very
And
much so.
that's not to say everything he's made or done is perfect, but no director is like flawless. You know
Infallible.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
like nobody's infallible.
Everybody got some schlock on they. If you're an artist, you're taking risks anyway. So you're gonna have some
Yeah.
misses just because you're stepping out there and you're trying some different things. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't hear him like when people start talking about Spielberg, when people start talking about, you know, Scorsese and Tarantino and these names like the names, right? Now you hear
Right.
Nolan
Right.
in that mix, right? It's like people might look at you crazy if you were to just be like Spike Lee. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, it's like he should hold, as he should like. I feel like if America wasn't such a racist place, they would have let go of Woody Allen a long time ago because Spike Lee is doing like literally the exact same thing, except he has black people in his movies, so people feel like they can't relate to it. They otherize it.
Yeah.
But like,
Very similar
Woody Allen
stories.
is heralded. He's heralded as this like he's the voice shown. He's like this voice of intellectual New York in some ways with like his films, and it's like yeah, but he's like a real life creepazoid, fam. Like I just the 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 way that like there's so many film like experts who just are not familiar with his like body of work in the way that they are a Scorsese, in the way that they are, you know, even obscure like French art house directors. Like, you have these conversations with
Yeah.
these people and they telling you about, the Brazilian black exploitation. And it's like, okay, but like you haven't seen Clockers. You haven't seen
Yeah.
Whole Better Blues. You haven't seen He Got Game. Like you really are like you telling on yourself, but it's one of those like you getting off just because of like reasonable doubt. Because you're gonna be judged by a
Yeah.
jury of your peers.
Yeah. And you know what? I would say oftentimes, and you mentioned this a lot of times, like it's you take movies that are just in general, you know what I'm saying, cinema as a whole, when people don't see what is familiar to them, even if they understand the story, even if they can relate to it, they would still have to be there to actually see it. And and in many cases, if people don't see what they're accustomed to seeing, a lot of people don't have that desire to venture out and try something new. And the best example I give, cinemas, like that's where money gets spent. But just look at music, and that's probably the easiest one. Um, it is just like a running gag for people to kind of, laugh and joke about country music as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like I listen to everything except country. And truth be told, it's like, no, I actually know a lot of country songs and I like a lot of country songs. Um, because I like the lyricism in some of the songs. I like the story that's being told in a few of the songs. There's parts of it that I can still relate to, regardless of the the sound that comes out. And some of them are just like they sound good. You know what I'm saying? And
It's
it's
white
just like
R&B.
it's catchy. It's like, okay, I kind of like that. That's yeah. And it's like I find that I have this weird thing when it comes to music. Like I like things that are very, very unique. I like something in the song to be unique. If somebody has like a very distinctive singing voice, um, they don't sound like anyone else, or just the way they sing their songs comes out differently. Um, and sometimes that could be mistaken for comes out good. Other times maybe it doesn't come out quite as what some people would consider good. But there's like a Regina Spektor. I don't know any other song she does, but she has this one song that I like, and it's because she does this really weird pitchy thing with her voice as she sings the chorus. And because of that, it sounds very unique. Spike Lee has a very distinctive style. Tarantino has a very distinctive style. That's why people go see Wes Anderson films. Um, you kind of know when you go to see a Wes Anderson film,
This
it's
shit's
going to
gonna be
have like
very
those
weird.
right. It's going to have those
About to be the
those
most
title card
symmetrical 3 hours
moments,
of your life.
right? But again, it's like it's never. It's one of those weird things where it's like, okay, I may not be interested in sitting in the theater for that. That's not how I want to spend a date night or anything like that. But
Let me tell you something.
if I got some time to kill, I'm at the house by myself, the wife, the kids, everybody gone, and I like I may sit and watch a Wes Anderson film just because of the uniqueness of the film, to be a more well versed movie film I can't properly critique movies if I haven't seen all of the movie, that type of stuff. But sometimes it's just like, I like Jason Schwartzman. Um, uh, 2 or 3 people that's going to be in a movie automatically because it's a Wes Anderson film. So, and since I like some of those people, I'll probably check it out. But, it's also one of those things. If I hear there's a Spike Lee movie, I'm gonna probably, I'm gonna want to check that out just because it's a Spike Lee movie. Um, Whatever Tarantino's next project is, I typically want to check it out because it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. Robert Rodriguez. If it's a Robert Rodriguez film, I want to see that. Um, Now it's becoming the Chad Stalinsky, the guy that does the John Wick films. Um, just because of the way he directs action, I'm very interested in that. And it's like you go back to movies like Hardcore Henry, and again because they have that very unique style, something that's different, something that's not like all of the other movies. Because a lot of times we'll see if there's a movie that's popular, or a theme that is on everybody's buzz on their radar, you'll see 2 3 movies like that. That's how we end up getting the what was the movie came out same time as Armageddon? Deep Impact and Armageddon,
Deep
same time.
Impact,
You know what I'm
Girls
saying?
Trip, and the White Girls Trip.
You know what I'm saying? 2012, Day After Tomorrow. Like somebody leaks that this movie's being made, and then another studio's like, well, let's hurry up and make ours. Or even if you just look at like all of the ridiculous spinoffs, we have like, let one or two Fast and Furious movies get made, and those are good. Then all of a sudden we have like
Hobbs and Shaw.
gang drivers. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird how that works. So whenever you have directors or filmmakers who are able to remain unique and tell unique stories and different stories, I believe that's something that's always very, very impressive.
But it depends on what stories you're trying to tell that you're going to get your shit greenlit. See what I'm saying? Like, the reality is, like,
oh yeah, you look at
like if we're gonna get into like
ratings.
the real like nitty gritty of it, it's like I think black people as a whole like definitely like Spike's earlier stuff more than the more contemporary stuff. And I understand it from Spike's perspective. He was probably just tired of having to like do guerrilla warfare every time he needed to make a movie. He was probably tired of having to go ask celebrities for help every time he needed to finish a movie. And it was like, all right, like they're gonna pay me to do Son of Sam. They're gonna pay me to do Old Boy. They're gonna pay me to do Inside Man. They're gonna pay me to do, you know, Black Klansman because it's like a black dude working with the police. You know what I mean? Like you look at the the movies that he's done, and even though they are very, I would say that those for the most part are all very quality films. It's like that messaging of feeling like he was making movies for me and people who I was like hanging out with, that kind of
Right.
went away with some of the like later stuff, in my opinion. And that's not to say, and but I mean, I think that's also a thing of age. As we grow older, we do lose some of our edge, and we lose that need to always have to like stick a middle finger up every time like the cop turns around and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I get it. He fought that fight, and that's like, it's a young person's fight, and other people have, I think, picked up the baton, and he's kind of in a space where he should be able to make whatever kind of movies he wants to make. Now,
Yep.
do I wish some of them were a little more like edgy, like the first ones? Yeah, but I also understand that's just not how the game is played, and so, you know, he's probably funding some things that have like that kind of edge. Hopefully he's like, reaching back and teaching somehow, somewhere, the next generation of directors to come up. But yeah, I think you can definitely see almost like a line of demarcation in his like filmography of like, all right, like now we making money and we making just these kinds of movies. We're not making movies about like, the
Movies with messages.
yeah, we're not making movies that are about bucking the system per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're making movies about, and I think that's the other thing. Like, yes, his movies, you definitely think about messaging with all of his movies, especially the early ones. But I
Right.
think the thing about his films that really can be overlooked is the fact that the reason why his movies don't always feel so heavy-handed is because he tells the story through character development. He doesn't it's not like all these like contrived things where it's like message, 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 message. It's like you go on a journey through the film with one or multiple characters. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
It's always a lot of
you
perspectives. A lot of
Yeah,
sides to it.
And you see the character making different choices and seeing like what the outcome of those choices are. And I think that's why his later movies are still good, even though they're not about like that same messaging, is because he still is about making films where the characters take you on a journey. Like you're following this person, you're following these people, and there is like a major decision that has to be made. And his characters make choices that make sense for the character, but they're not always necessarily like what we would deem the correct choice. I mean, that's the whole premise behind Do the Right Thing. It's like every Spike Lee movie is full of characters doing things that like may not be the right thing to do, quote unquote, but are right for that character where they are and where they are in their journey and what they need to like learn and experience. So I think as much as it's about the blackness and the hip hop and the slang and the edginess and how he shot his films, like you remember Mookie, you remember Radio Raheem, you remember
Yeah.
Bugging Out, you remember Half Pint, you remember
Nola
Big Brother
Darling,
Almighty, you
Mars.
remember Nola Darling, you remember Mars Blackman, you remember Jesus Shuttlesworth, you remember Jake Shuttlesworth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. These
It's
are
people. It's
definitely
people. It's people. When you say the word, when you say Malcolm X, people. There's more people who get a mental picture of Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X in their mind than the actual what Malcolm X actually looked like,
yeah.
because he was able. The way he shot that film, like embedded, like it shaped the modern day interpretation of who Malcolm X is as a person.
I think that's the same way people see Lawrence Fishburne as Ike Turner.
Yes.
Like
And
just
that's
the
why, like, when people ask me why I don't like Selma, it's like because when I walked away from that movie, I did not feel like David Oyelowo was Martin Luther King.
yeah.
But he was acting, and he got as close as he could, but he did
That
not like.
association wasn't there. It
And it's
still
a
it still
tougher
has
hill to
that
climb
feeling of
because
acting.
it's a tougher hill to climb too, because we've heard more Martin Luther King speeches just in the public than Malcolm X speeches, unless you like we're in one of those families where that's kind of stuff y'all listen to, which I was, but everybody else was not. So when you come, but like I'm from Atlanta, we hear Martin Luther King all the time. I know that voice. They used to play Martin Luther King sermons on WAOK radio on Sunday evenings. My grandmother would listen to it. So when you come in talking about, people heard the "I Have a Dream" speech 1,000 times. When you come in talking about trying to be, Martin Luther King Jr., I don't know, David. But when people start talking about Malcolm X, what's the first thing they start saying? We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. I don't even
Actually,
know if
you know
Malcolm
what?
X really said that.
This just
Yeah.
when he take the glass off and slam the book, like that's the part right
His
there.
brother's starving.
You
Their
know what I'm
brother's
saying?
starving.
And it's like that to me is and credit to Denzel for his role in it, being able to capture that and portray that and bring what he brought to the role. But it was the director who was able to get that out of him. And so, when you go through a lot of the different things, I kind of feel like Spike Lee made Wesley Snipes a star. And when I say a star, I remember Wesley Snipes from Wildcats, and I remember him in what was the baseball movie, Major League.
Major League.
I remember him being in those movies, but I think Jungle Fever was his first leading role. And when he was already like he was a major name co-star in Mo Better Blues,
Right.
but you follow that, you come back a little bit later, and boom, now you've got him here in Jungle Fever, like a year later. So he showed up for Mo Better Blues, did his thing there, and it's like, you know what, we're going to make a movie with you. And then, of course, you turn right around and you take Denzel. You make a movie with Denzel. And that's where we got Malcolm X. So it was like boom, 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 just hit him. And I think that was probably also one of the things that really made Spike Lee like a household name in the 90s. It was like from the time he started making movies, he was putting out a movie like every year, every other year. It was just like back to back to back. And it was just like, I remember it. It feels like all of those movies came out together. You know what I'm saying? From School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, Crooklyn, um, and I feel like it stopped at He Got Game. Like He Got Game was like the end of that run.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of feel like after He Got Game is when he started getting other movies.
I think Clockers might be after He Got Game. Because see, there's other ones too, like Girl Six. Like there's like he's got ones
Teresa
that kind
Randall.
of like slip through the cracks when people like think about them. And it's because, they weren't like, whatever well received in the moment. But I think also just because like stylistically, like I think like he does not get enough credit for stylistically the way that he's able to like make the everything about the film like it's this all encompassing world visually as well. Like he uses I feel like he uses like different tones and colors and filters and just makes everything so extreme. He uses, the dolly shot. He uses,
Yeah.
speaking to the through like speaking to camera. You know what I mean? He uses this element of surrealism sometimes that a lot of movies had started getting away from because those are a lot of those things are kind of like musical tropes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have the like dream sequences and singing straight to the camera and like kind of this this element of like we are all aware that we are watching a film. You know what I mean? Including the people who are like portraying this. It almost has kind of this like stage play esqueness to it, but captured
Yes.
on film. Whereas a lot of other movies at that same time were moving more towards the like real life everyday narrative, like you suspension of disbelief. Like you're supposed to believe these are real people. You're supposed to believe these are things that can happen in the real world. But I think Spike really didn't shy away from using like visual elements to portray like character growth, to portray, a character's inner psyche, what they were thinking, how they were feeling,
Yeah.
using not just the words and not just the actor emoting, but like the lighting and the environment and where he chooses to shoot, the angle he shoots from. Like he's
Yeah.
just doing like so much with every single thing that stylistically it shouldn't work, but so many times it does. And
I
like I
think
was just
Mo
thinking
Better.
about how different like
Yeah.
Do the Right Thing is than like Mo Better Blues, where Do the Right
Yeah.
Thing is like a Public Enemy video essentially, and Mo Better Blues is jazz, and it's
It's
shot
I was about to say
differently,
it
it
actually
feels
feels like art
differently,
house film.
right? But like black and
Yeah.
vibrant and colorful, and not just like noir. You know what I mean? Like showing jazz, showing jazz is not this historical like blast from the past that's in black and white pictures and only black and white videos of Miles Davis playing. Like, these dudes was wearing pink suits and all that kind of stuff back in the day, showing the true art form in its true color, because it's not this stuffy academia form of expression. It is juke joint, back room, dice game, switchblade music, just like all other black music that's been made in America since the turn of the century. So you really look at it and how he chose to portray everything in that movie, and then you look at like A School Days, where it's almost like John Hughes esque, but like still has edge. You know what I mean?
If John Hughes was doing a college film at an HBCU, because
exactly.
and the cool thing about it is it does have like all the comedic elements, but it also feels like there's a lot of inside jokes. There's some stuff that is just like surface level funny because it's written as humor. And then there's other things that like, if like those are inside jokes. That joke's not for everybody. Only certain people are going to get those jokes.
And even with those, like kind of the situations almost going into kind of these John Hughes-esque situations, but it being like, these are black people. Like, that's not how this is going to go down in this movie. You know what I mean? So, and not saying like, I don't know if that was his inspiration or not, but I just, that's kind of just the way that I, the coming of age movie, but with like black kids at school, not like black kids in the hood, which is nothing wrong with showing black kids in the hood. I think that those movies deserve to exist. They need to exist. Some of the best movies ever made are about black kids in the hood, in my opinion. But it's about showing a breadth of experiences to paint a more complete picture. Because when you only show black kids in the hood, it kind of makes it seem like that's where black kids belong. And not only do you
that's
have black
the only
kids
thing you can find, and it also creates and unintentionally there's also I think it's just as important to showcase both, as you pointed out. Like both sides need those stories, need their story told. They need that representation because both sides exist. You do have your black kids who come in and they are going to be very, Giancarlo Esposito. They are going to be very Lawrence Fishburne. You are going to have the Tisha Campbells out there. You're going to have all of these different characters, and their experiences are all equally important. And if nothing else, just to show that there is more than one experience, that there is more than one type of individual. And I think it's something like A School Days that makes, and this is a hell of a jump, but it's a movie like School Days is why the Jamie Foxx show works. It's why the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's why those shows work, because they have all the different dynamics. They show all the different sides, because it is going to be your, Fishburne and Esposito being like almost polar opposites of one another. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be your Will and Carlton. That's going to be, your Jamie Foxx
and Whitley, Jamie Foxx and Brax.
Jamie Foxx, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, the funny thing is like, I know Braxton. I know Carlton. Hell, you put me next to the right people, I am Carlton. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So it's like, and the funny thing is like, there are times when, under the circumstances, I might feel like the Carlton. by comparison. Maybe it's because of, what I like, but you can't discredit the experiences I have. And I remember that episode of The Fresh Prince where uh, Carlton got dropped off in the hood, and he had like, Will came in a minute later, and he had like the do rag in the back of his hat. And he's like, "Yo, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? He's like, "What the?
Right.
Whoa, okay, come over here." And he's like, "Hey, yeah, they like me, right?" And it was just like Alfonso was acting his ass off right there, but it was one of those things where it's like, I know that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I know that guy. And it's funny because we have the whole group. Click that QR code, come hang out in the group sometimes. And it's amazing sometimes to see some of the conversations that come from some of the people. You know what I'm saying? And who's bringing these topics up. I had a whole conversation with somebody the other day about anime. I was at work. My job has me go to a lot of different houses. I was at someone's house and I happened to see something, and I'm looking, it kind of did like the double take thing. Like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And my man had a Naruto headband. It was kind of like off to the side. It was, like over there, not really hidden, but it wasn't like prominently. It wasn't like a room like this where he just had all his shit on display, but he had one in the room.
Right.
And what I'm saying, I happened to be listening, and on his phone, he was obviously watching anime at the moment. Now, I'm a big fan of anime, love anime. So, of course, because I recognize the music, I was like, oh, is that this week's episode or is that last week's episode? The new episode hadn't dropped yet, has it? Then he was like, huh? Then I mentioned the name of the anime. Like we were talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. And I was like, is that the new episode of Jujutsu Kaisen? And then he's like, what? Oh, nah. You watch that? And I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, look at you, look at me. What you trying to say? I'm old, I can't watch it. We're not gonna go there, but it's like you the one that's actually a little bit more shocking. And then I got to think about it. I was like, you know what? No. Why would either one of us be shocked? We both sit up here watching it. We had a good little 20-minute conversation about it. So it's like all of these people exist, and you're more likely to see them in a Spike Lee film than perhaps some other movies by some other directors. Now, as I was talking, as I was talking about the that little whirlwind of movies he was doing, and it was like he was putting out one like every year, every other year. I went and pulled up the IMDb, and of course, like as far as directing, he directed a lot of music videos during that time. Directed a couple of TV shows, and he was very, very, very busy from. We will say. So the debut of his feature film, She's Gotta Have It, was 1986. And that to me is actually kind of funny because, like, okay, wait, that was 86. Wow. I should not have been in that theater. I saw She's Gotta Have It in the theaters when it came out. I went to a premiere. As it happens, he is a classmate, Morehouse College. He's classmates with my father, who was drum major at the marching band Morris Brown. I mean, not Morris Brown, but Morehouse College. He was apparently my pops was that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a drum major, and that's a big deal for any school with any HBCU with a halfway decent band. For you to be the guy out front with the stick and the baton, yeah, that was my pops. But yeah, like I clearly remember when this movie came out, it was a big deal. We were going to the theater, and it was like we were going in support. We went to the premiere. I don't necessarily recall if it was like a red carpet event, but I do remember like it was a very, very, very full movie theater, and everybody was there to see that movie. And for the life of me, like I need to just go online and order that movie so I have a copy of it. I remember the weirdest parts of that movie, and I cannot find it. But I remember that character of Mars being like, after that he went on to be the guy on the Michael Jordan commercials. Um, and those two guys, you know what I'm saying? Because the Mars character, I don't think was ever really a. That's probably one of the first examples of like thinking back on it. That's probably like one of the first examples of like polyamory on film. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it was like the perspective of the story being told. That's actually a hell of a movie. I think that is a fantastic movie. Um, I think more
Yeah,
people should
I
watch that
mean,
movie.
I would say, like, I think Spike's interesting too because it's like I feel like the order you see his movies in sometimes might affect how you view him. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, what Spike Lee movies should I watch?" I would I would definitely recommend She's Got to Have It, but I would not tell them to watch it first. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that's just more because I think he has better work, and
Definitely.
you can always just go back and like revisit something like that rather than trying to like start with it and then just move forward.
I mean, it's also a very 80s film, So I mean,
Right.
there's in a weird way, there's that part of it also. You know what I'm saying? Like Once Upon a Time. Well, I won't even say Once Upon a Time. There are still some movies that are somewhat timeless because they have like a mixed blend of timescapes. But this one, this doesn't feel like a movie that you could watch today and it'd be like, oh yeah, this is if you go outside in New York City right now, this is how it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and it's also like the acting style is, it's very stage play. Um,
Yes. Well,
you
much
can
like you
tell,
said,
like,
this is one of those like this is a movie that is it is made as a movie, but it is probably written as a play. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like you mentioned, this is a stage play caught on film
well,
because
and I
some of the
think also it has to
monologues,
do with like, I think it also kind of has to do with like the like equipment that they probably had access to in terms of like recording sound. Like, you're not getting a lot of like subtle conversations with just like one boom mic. You gotta you gotta like you gotta project even though y'all standing right next to each other.
right? But I
And
think
you
it's
also are
also
just kind of like you're hiring your friends, you're hiring acting students, you're hiring yourself to
right.
be in the
Your
movie.
sister, your
So
brother,
yeah, your
everybody who
dad's
wants to
making
see
the
you
music.
succeed. Right. Everybody who wants to see you succeed is pitching in to help make this movie happen. And because that
Right.
one got off the ground and did surprisingly well, you know what I'm saying? All things considered, it's like I said, it's a good movie. And um, a little bit of trivia here: uh, Tracy Camilla Johns, Independent Spirit Award, Best Female Lead, um, Best First Feature, another Independent Spirit Award, Best First Feature for Spike Lee, Los Angeles Critics Association Awards, and it was award of the youth foreign film for the Cannes Film Festival.
And see, that's
So
kind of he's in that era where it's like it's okay because the only white people watching it are like these like snooty artsy fartsy dudes. But once like kids started getting their hands on like Do the Right Thing, that's when it started becoming like an issue. You know what I mean?
Let's see here. Try to go back to his filmography. This list of the directors like so damn long.
I mean, we won't have
Just
to talk about all his movies
oh
because
no
we
no
be
no.
here
I mean,
all
there's a few that
night.
I want to highlight and point out, and you know, I would say the first list that came to mind when I was rattling them off, you know, what I'm saying again, and it's She's Got to Have It, Do the Right Thing, School Days, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, um, He Got Game is one of them, and more recently, you know, The Five Bloods. Um, Clockers is an interesting one.
See, Clockers to me, I feel like Clockers was one of those where it was like it was good, but because I feel like it just got like swallowed up in like people feeling like kind of the hood movie was oversaturating things. Because a lot of his movies had not been like set in the projects. A lot of his movies had not been centered around like criminal activity. And so it was kind
Right.
of like Boys in the Hood blew up, Menace to Society blew up. Now he's still like, you take a movie like He Got Game, like that movie is still like in somewhat the same setting as like a movie like a Clockers, but there was never, it's dealing with a kid playing basketball. And I think, you know, it was interesting to see Spike actually deal with like that criminal element and his interpretation of it versus like John Singleton with Boys in the Hood or the Hughes brothers with Menace to Society, where I feel like a lot of the California messages was like, I mean, I feel like John Singleton had a little bit of that, like, just try to keep your head down and like make it out. Education is the key. Like, you know, he did Higher Learning. You know, he
Right.
has the whole subplot in Boys in the Hood about them going to college and eventually like Trey goes to college. So it's like everything in that movie, you know, even like um, Ricky's character just being so much about, even though he's a football player, so much of his story is about him being able to like make enough on the SAT to be able to be academically eligible to go to college and play football. So I feel like, you know, definitely he was coming from like an
This is my ticket
educational
out of here. You know what I'm saying?
element. Right. Right. I feel like the Hughes brothers was kind of like, this is like an environmental thing. It's like, even if you got good kids, like it's all things considered, like if you think about Menace to Society, Kane is not a bad character, but he does some bad shit just because the
The
environment that he
influence
was in
of O
and
Dog.
the influences around him kind of just led him to like doing some shit that was essentially like out of character for him, but not necessarily out of character, just considering his environment. I feel like Spike Lee with Clockers was just like, this shit is all effed up and it's designed to be that way because the police are in on it. The gangster, like all these, is people who, you know, there's rats everywhere. There's people who's informants, and their whole thing is like they're doing this on purpose to keep us here, keep us killing each other, keep us fighting each other over this small little territory so we don't get out and do anything different. And I just feel like because a lot of the like hood movies weren't really respected because some of them were some of them did just feel like, okay, like this is the hot thing, and so we're gonna make any old crazy like hood movie just show black people like killing each other, but it doesn't have like a real message behind it. It's like unfortunate that that one kind of just like slipped through the cracks for a lot of people because they were kind of just tired of like the Dangerous Minds and, you know, just everything. Like everything about being young and black in the hood was just like everything's so hard. You got to be in the gang. You're gonna have to dodge gunfire. And
Message.
it's like,
You know what?
yeah,
Honestly,
it's like,
and not to be funny, but I think that's why people like Don't Be a Menace so much. Um, one, because it is truly like just funny as hell. But I think it is the fact that they make light of those situations while showing those same situations. And, when you get tired of seeing characters portrayed a certain way, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to see everybody on film. Like, I can't think of and I say this not facetiously, but I can't think of a good role that I've ever seen Frito star in. You know what I'm saying? Um, because it's just the character he plays. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's
When you say good, you mean like
he
a
never gets to
positive
play a
character?
right. I was about to say he never gets to play the good guy.
Or he's always like hard on at first, and then like you win him over or something like that. Yeah,
Right. You know what I'm saying?
like
And
Sunset
so
Park.
and so it's like right, like that's what I'm saying. Like that's his character. That's who he plays. In fact, I feel it's almost like what's the guy? It's actually like a running gag in Hollywood. The guy from okay, he's in Training Day. He's the older brother,
Oh, he's talking about Hector.
Hector. Hector plays Hector in every movie that Hector's in. And it's almost like in a weird way, it's like it's literally the same guy because he's always playing a character named Hector. And it's just like, damn,
Yeah,
Hector be getting around. But then it's like because he always plays that same character, and I'm air quoting when I say same because he always plays that same character. It's always the setting and the environment that fits for it to be this one guy just going through all of these different situations.
right.
And in a weird way, I kind of feel like all the characters that Frito Star ends up playing kind of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it it is good to have a movie like a Don't Be a Menace just because you do get to see the humor in those moments. Even with like serious situations and things like that, they come through with the jokes, laughing, ha ha ha, and give you a little bit of a silver lining so that it doesn't always have to just be sad and depressing, and it's good to have those. I think of School Dance, and again, take all the same stereotype characters, and because this is a parody and a comedy, they're literally poking fun at all of those characters. Um, when you were talking about uh, Kane and O-Dog from Don't Be a Menace, there's a one of those weird internet theories running around. Somebody presented him and said their weird movie conspiracy theory: O-Dog is not real.
Nah, man, get that Fight Club shit out of here. I'm not doing that. Keep that over there with them. We don't have gangster imaginary friends, okay?
It is the.
O
I
Dog
mean,
is on tape shooting the Korean lady. So if other people actually talk to O Dog, so
and
how is it how I don't even want to. Man, this is about Spike Lee. Let's deal with
right.
crazy. Let's deal with crazy people another day.
Okay, just we go back and watch some footage on it, but it's only like two parts that stand out to say that that's the hole in the theory why it doesn't work. There's only two scenes. Every other scene, you can actually still make an argument for it. Maybe that'll be a film review or something. We can go and we'll dissect it.
Yeah,
But
we'll do a MythBusters but movie conspiracy theories.
ooh, you know what? That could be fun. That could be fun because there's a lot of weird movie conspiracy theories out there, and you know what I'm saying? They're like trying to if you try to see the movie from this perspective or that perspective, being able to say why it works, why it doesn't work. Huh. Well, Mythbusters idea. Okay. Put that in the notebook. Um, so with all of the now, Spike Lee has a number of credits for the movies that he himself has written, separate from the things that he has directed. Um, and then, of course, he's also got stuff that he has produced. Um, in many cases, you know what I'm saying? Like, he will be the writer, director, and producer on a lot of those films. But it's actually not every single one. And of course, sometimes it's just like, hey, he just gets brought in to direct. And he's been in charge of producing a lot of things. But as far as like his writing credits, um, I was actually kind of shocked when I looked through some of the writing credits. NBA 2K16 writing credit, Kelly Rowland, The Game music video. He wrote that story. Um, he wrote the screenplay for Summer of Sam. He wrote uh, the TV show Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. He wrote an episode of that show. It's like it's crazy when you start going through and looking at some of the credits. It's like, wow, I didn't even like. How do you? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why sometimes it's so crazy that like he gets left out of these conversations is because he's done so much. And I think it really speaks to like this is when the koofy goes on. It really speaks to how it doesn't matter if you are talented. All that matters is you are willing to play by their rules. It doesn't matter if you see something that's messed up that should be done differently. Keep your mouth shut and you play by their rules. Until you do that, you will not have their support. You will not have their fun. Like they're not in it for the art. Like a lot of the people who you have to deal with to get movies made have ulterior motives with the things that they produce, whether it be selling. Like the MCU is all a device to sell consumer products. It's not this artistic endeavor that is all about, translating, our current mythology to a new medium. It's like we want to sell t-shirts. We want people to come to Disneyland and get on these rides. We want people to buy video games. We want people to buy hats, mugs, comics. We want people to buy stuff. You dig what I'm saying? Like there's the ulterior motive behind it because I mean capitalism drives the system and I get that. I'm not even gonna get into all that. But the issue is people make it seem like, yeah, our capitalist system is like merit based when it's not. It's not merit based because if a white director had made Do the Right Thing, their next movie would not what's Spike Lee's next movie have to Do the Right Thing?
After he made Do the Right Thing, he
Yeah.
had to make another one of those kind of movies. And
Yeah,
that's
no, I'm
where,
saying
like you said,
I thought you had his IMDb up.
oh, I can click on that page there. Let me click that one back. Um, but no, honestly, I think after Do the Right Thing, it was. Let's see, was it School Days? School Days was before. Do the Right Thing was next. Okay, there we go. Nope, that's on She's Gotta Have It. I just had oh, that's all the pictures. Okay, let me close that. Go to the director. Boom. Okay, let's close that. Close that. See all. Takes a minute to scroll all the way to the bottom. He's done so much. Okay, so he did Do the Right Thing and Fight the Power in the same year. The next movie is Mo Better Blues, 1990.
All right. You gonna tell me you think Mo Better Blues got major funding,
You can look at that movie and tell it didn't get
major
made.
major distribution, major support from the studio? You dig what I'm saying? And we talking about 1990. White people are fully jazz at this point, and you're not
Yeah.
pushing a movie about an art form that is essentially dominated by them in their communities. Why? Because it's a bunch of young black men. It's a bunch of black people in the movie. It's not a jazz movie. It's a black movie. Still, it's the same thing like when you look at your Netflix algorithm. You watch. I'm trying to think of a. You watch Insecure, and then you go to your suggestions, and it's Medea.
You're white people.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, this is just stuff for this is just the shows with all the black people in them. That's what like you're not making any other sorts of connections between these things, which is fine, but don't make it seem like this is like my algorithm section. Just say this is the movie, these are shows with all the black people in it, and I would have way more respect for that. But that's not the way that they play it. They make it seem like, oh, we're just showing you stuff we think you might like. And it's like, well, what does Medea and, you know, Dear White People have in common other than them being comedies and them having a majority black cast? Like, it's not really from the same school of comedy. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't put The Office and Jackass in the same comedy series. You know what I mean? It's completely different styles, completely different audiences, completely different mediums. And, I think, Spike, like I was saying earlier, Spike and his art definitely suffers from like the desire from, the establishment to just say this is just the black this and then not include it in any other conversations because apparently you can only use one adjective. So if you choose the black adjective, then that's it. You got to stay over there. You got to do your black movies over there. You got to be a black man over there. But I think, like, you definitely miss out on a lot of really great directors. You miss out on a lot of really great art. There's a lot of people out there who would enjoy a lot of these movies that are missing out on just really, really good art because the way the system is designed, it only amplifies certain things. So it's a shame that like we live in a world where a 13-year-old white kid can't do the right thing and then go talk to his parents about it without it being like this is woke and this and that and whoop de whoop, or we're liberal, we're past all that. Yeah, like have a real conversation about what people were experiencing in those times, what they saw with their own eyes, what they saw in their communities, what they were seeing in the news, what they saw from their families. But it's like a lot of people don't want to breach that because they're going to have tough conversations about grandma and grandpa and great grandma and great grandpa and auntie and uncle. And they would rather just close their eyes and pretend the boogeyman isn't staring them right in the face. And they don't want the kids to go in and bring the boogeyman home. And then you have like those ignorant kids when you go to college that you have to deal with, where it's just like they come in, they don't know nothing. Like they don't know nothing, Sam.
They've never experienced
like, you ask like just why are you brushing your hair? It's so short. Why are you wearing that on your head at night? Your hair is short. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't move. It's like, all right, get out of my face. You know what I mean? Like, but then it's just like but then it's like, what I'm saying, you don't look at it and you say like, your parents, you're doing your children a disservice. You're doing your country a disservice by not exposing yourself to art from multiple communities in America. And I think, people don't realize how insulated they are until they start realizing that there's all these other communities and all these other people having these shared experiences with one another that you have no clue about. Like you can't even go watch Don't Be a Menace because you haven't seen all the movies that it's referencing. So you don't get it. You might think it's funny, but you don't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't get why the Hotep going with the Trailer Park Banjo Girl is funny.
Yeah.
Like you have not lived that. That has not been in no, that was not a parody from a movie. That's ripped straight from the headlines, Dateline style,
Yeah.
SVU style.
I mean, like I said,
I think
a lot of times some of those jokes are going to be, while they are going to be inside jokes, they're not written with the intent of being inside jokes. I think a lot of times those are written to make people ask questions, to get information they don't have. But there again, who's comfortable enough to do the research and ask the questions? And you know,
look, man, they're
like I
not
was
gonna do
thinking
it. They're not
last
gonna
week,
do it.
we had a great moment on our 50 years of hip hop. We had a guest in the chat. First question: what defines hip hop? Like didn't know, you know, stated that they were classic rock and heavy metal. Didn't know what exactly qualified as hip hop, and was at least able to discern the difference between hip hop and not automatically just think hip hop is rap, knowing that hip hop is something more than just rap. And so wanted a clearer definition of like, okay, so what is considered hip hop? And I will say that conversation, I knew that person, that conversation continued offline. And I was like, oh, here's a playlist. Start here. Here you go. We're gonna start you off slow. Here's an 80s rap playlist. Which listen to this. See how you feel about that. And then you tell me 3 songs you like. Then we're gonna move to the 90s. And I can't wait to hit him with the gangster rap. See
Oh boy.
right. You know, but I'll probably sit with him through that one. So as not to matter of fact, I hope he's coming over here probably this weekend. I think he'll probably be here like Saturday evening. He'll come hang out for a bit. But you know, it'll be fun to sit and get his reaction to things. And again, you know, like I said, it'll be equally teased when he makes me listen to some of his favorite songs that I'm not familiar with.
But
And
you
I'm
see,
like, okay, who is
here's
this?
okay. So here's the thing that I have to say about that too, because I do feel like a lot of times I think talking about Spike Lee is that's 50th anniversary of hip hop too. He's one of the important chroniclers of the culture in a lot of different ways. Um, so I guess this can be a continuation of that. Uh, I really think that watching Spike Lee movies, watching these different movies of the time as well, just help you feel more immersed and understanding like what people are trying to say. Like it's crazy when if you grow up in a town where like you grew up in a small town and the police is like your dad's neighbor, y'all go to the same country club, and you know what I'm saying? It's just like he's a part of your community. You hear fuck the police and you don't understand why somebody would ever be that mad at the police because you don't understand the environment. But then you can watch a Boys in the Hood, you can watch a Fresh, you can watch Juice, you can watch all these movies that are kind of chronicling what the youth of that time were experiencing in the neighborhoods where this type of music was coming from. And then maybe you understand where somebody who is having a different experience in life than you might come to the conclusion, fuck the police. Now it's up to you how you want to deal with that and process that later on. I mean, okay, I feel like that's a good segue into like do the right thing, right? Because I feel like the major question with that movie, people always is like, well, who did the right thing? And it's like, well, the answer is Mookie. Like that's for me, that's simple. But I think a lot of people try to make it Like there are some complexities and things to think about, but the reality is a lot of people was wrong. Maybe, Mookie burning down, but it's like do the right thing in a movie full of people doing the wrong thing. But like throwing like it's like do you want your pizza shop burned down, or do you want them to kill you in the streets? You know what I'm saying? Like that energy that
Yeah.
crowd was feeling, it had to go somewhere. That wasn't just gonna be no, oh, we gonna just all go home, we gonna pray about it. Like, no, that energy had to be released somewhere. And it was either gonna be on Sal and his sons or on the pizza shop. Mookie just released the pressure valve. And it is what it is. Now, a lot of people don't see it that way. Sometimes they can't see it that way, but it's like everybody before that is wrong. Like bugging out, you wrong for how you talking to Sal in his pizza shop, right?
Right.
You want brothers on the wall. There's a way to have that discussion. Yelling why you ain't got no brothers on the wall across the pizzeria, not the way to handle that situation. Radio Raheem, I love Public Enemy. When you go into somebody's big place of business, you know, yes, you're young, you can be rebellious, but just like turn your radio down while you're doing business. Or ask,
Yeah.
do you mind if I play my music? Sal, you own a pizza shop in the middle of a black neighborhood. You can't think of one black person you thought was worthy to hang up on your wall of your pizzeria. You talk about, I feed these people, I watch their kids grow up, was trying to, riz up Mookie's sister when she come in the all pink. Like you see you are, but you also don't live in that community. Y'all drive
True.
in every single day and you go back out. So
True.
you can't have one foot in, one foot out. You either part of the community or you're not. Because if you was really part of the community, you wouldn't have been trying to charge everybody extra. You'd be having a conversation with somebody like bugging out. You wouldn't be seen as adversarial with people who spend all day on your block. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely. And maybe coming out with the bat and smashing the radio wasn't the way to make that change. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, the man's name is Radio Raheem. You beat up his radio.
you got to expect.
What
you
are
come
you
out with a bat,
expecting to
that's
happen
threatening.
next?
That's threatening. Now it's interesting because of course, even on replay, psychologically, there's like a weird bit of PTSD when the police show up, Raheem, and just the way that goes down.
Yeah.
And when did this movie come out? This movie came out
1989.
You know what I'm saying? 1989, another summer. Okay.
That's the only reason I know what year.
Right. And that's why as soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Duh. Yeah, it's like that story that yeah.
I mean, Mookie even says it, the conversation they have the next day is always very fascinating because I think a lot of directors and writers would have written Mookie coming back the next day saying, look, Sal, I'm sorry. This is why I did it. You know what I'm saying? They were going to kill you if I didn't smash them. It was either you or the shop. Like, I just want you to understand, like, where I'm coming from, yada, yada, yada. He would have been explaining himself. And Spike was like, yo, I need my check. I need my money for what I worked all. Like, yeah, I know everything went down yesterday, but I worked all day yesterday. I did not get paid. I got a baby. I got a woman that's on my ass. I got a big sister that's on my ass. I need my money because I'm going to have to go get another job. You got insurance. Y'all going to be all right. Maybe you emotionally, you messed up, But you gonna be all right. You gonna get paid. Y'all ain't never gonna have to come down to this neighborhood ever again. Dig what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I need, before y'all pack up and hightail out of here, I need my money. Because at the end of the day, there is nothing
to give him that check, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it took Spike Lee being like, Radio Raheem is dead. Like, you talking about a window, you talking about a building where you're gonna get some money, and this dude is dead. Like, that's it. Like, fuck a window. And I mean, that's always, like, when you talk about some of the current events of the past, 5 to 10 years with, injustice and people taking to the streets, a lot of the conversation was about breaking windows. And it's like, Radio Raheem is dead. And, all these other young black men are dead, and y'all talking about windows. So, I mean, the fact that, like, that is captured on film, and that is something that, like, we as a culture have to, like, draw back to, where it's like, the next day we need to be like, Mookie, like, where is the check? I don't care about the windows when somebody has been killed at the hands of the state. I don't care about the windows.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people go in, I mean, that speaks to Spike's defiance, and I think that speaks to some of the, issues Spike had with the Hollywood establishment. No matter how much some of them might have vibed with his art, the fact that he didn't come in hat in hand, like, please, yes, sir, no, sir, oh, yes, boss, this and that and the third. He stood up. He had a point of view that he knew he was good. He knew he was good. And there's no shame in knowing that you're good and walking in that. You don't have to just come in and be like, being humble is not faking like you're not as good as you actually are. Being humble is just saying, this is how good I am, and that's it. You're not overselling it. You're not trying to, like, do too much. But they wanted him to come in and like they want a lot of us to come in artistically and just say, oh, I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you would even consider me. I'm so happy that you would even, I'm living the dream. And it's like, no, man, like, that's not how any of the great artists move through this life. And you don't expect that of, like, Steven Spielberg not walking around hat in hand, Christopher Nolan not walking around hat in hand, Kevin Feige not walking around hand, Daniel Snyder Zack Snyder ain't walking around hat in hand. And he's made some of the worst movies ever made. Michael Bay walking around hand in hand. And they made some of the, like, they've been attributed with, basically being authors of the death of cinema by a lot of more artistic directors. Wes Anderson be making symmetrical movies that 75 white people in LA see every year, and he don't have to come hat in hand nowhere. Don't matter how, because he's in a space where somehow it don't matter how much his movies make, because they just feel like somebody gonna be like, these kinds of movies need to exist. But you don't feel like that about somebody who stylistically, like Spike Lee,
that shit out the water.
Because they don't have that. They don't have the controversial messaging of a Wes Anderson does not have the controversial messaging of a Spike Lee. Ergo, he can make these weird movies about a train in India and a hotel and going down in the submarine, all this just like weird stuff. A weird family, a bunch of white people, and somehow Danny Glover in there. Like, what are these movies even about? But he gets to make them, and they get to exist, and they get to be appreciated as art, and that is fine. But
like you said, it's never about how much they make. It is never a conversation. Like, you never hear a Wes Anderson film flopped.
Right. It might dominate the box office. A Wes Anderson film flopping is not getting awards nominations and not getting critical acclaim. That's it. It's never about the bottom line with Wes Anderson movies. And honestly, I feel like with Spike Lee, even with Quentin Tarantino, low key, he's like kind of in that same space where it's just like, we just love the fact that you just You're a white man who clearly loves black exploitation movies because that's all you making. Black exploitation movies. That's clear. That's
Absolutely.
clearly your school of thought. But because all these other people haven't actually seen any black exploitation movies, they don't know that that's all you doing. You just making different versions of Shaft and Superfly and Foxy Brown.
Sometimes not even different versions.
I mean,
The
Django
same
is
version
literally
with a
slave
different name.
Shaft. Right.
Do what?
I said Django is literally slave Shaft.
Yeah.
Like,
Now
I,
I was actually going to ask um, when I was going through the directors. You know, you hear the name and there's like a subconscious little like, ooh, that director. You know, like because they have that unique style. There's something different about them, and I do notice that it tends to be the ones who aren't attached to everything, and the ones that they are attached to, they tend to have like they're the writer and the producer on it. So by
right.
holding everything like so close to the chest, it gives them more control on the overall out well the final product. They have more control over the final product because they come in as executive producer and things like that. So the I won't say the independent film aspect, but I believe sometimes you make an agreement to say, okay, I will I will sacrifice this, this, and this so that my vision stays true. Is that how a lot of these independent films or these unique films, maybe they're given a smaller budget, but the money's there? Um, how does that play out if you get Spike Lee to direct a Quentin Tarantino movie? Or which Quentin Tarantino movie do you think Spike Lee would have been a better fit for?
Django, Foxy Brown, not Foxy Brown. The one. What's the one with Pam Grier? Where she's the flight attendant.
Oh, it is a name. It is a name, and it's a woman's name. Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. Excuse me. I'm one of them people that's like, I ain't really no huge like Tarantino fan like that. Like, I, I mean, I get it. He has a style, but like, no, like I like Django a lot, but I think the way it concluded was a little sloppy. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't even want him to be like looking at what Quentin Tarantino was doing. I think I would have just rather have studios kind of support his vision more of like the kinds of stories that he was trying to tell just about the black experience in America, right? Like Inside Man, for instance, is a great movie. It's a great cop movie. Um, you definitely go on a character journey with like Denzel and like kind of his commitment issues and like him, the back and forth between him and Clive Owen per se. But there's nothing in that that speaks to like it's not like, oh, Denzel is having these issues because he's a black cop, you know what I mean, or he's a black cop trying to like prove that he can do XYZ and people are on him because of XYZ. Like it really is just he's a person, he's going through some things, he's just a regular everyday person, and And I think that that's not me saying I don't want Spike Lee to make those kinds of movies too, but it seemed like once where that was the direction, the other movies were kind of left by the wayside. Even like a Bamboozled, for instance, like that's a very like I like Spike Lee's perspective on I like Spike Lee's perspective on America. I like hearing Spike Lee's perspective on America through his films. Like I like Spike Lee's perspective, Do the Right Thing, his perspective on just like the melting pot cultures of America and when, everything collides, like how things actually are melting together. School days, his perspective on like the black college experience. He got game, his perspective on, a generation of young men who grew up without fathers and like their fathers end up maybe trying to come back into their lives one way or another. Just how those fathers, how a different sort of father-son relationship, maybe that he had, but one that was very common to everybody. I think once you get into like Inside Man, it's like this is just a really, really good movie. And that's amazing. When you get into Son of Sam, it's like this is just a really, really good movie. But it's not about like Spike Lee's perspective. I mean, I guess it's Spike Lee's perspective on like the obsession America has with like serial killers. But I think even that is a little bit more detached than like kind of showing, a more black centric viewpoint of that as well. You know what I mean? Like it really is just like the telling of Son of Sam killing, but it's not like Son of Sam killings is going on but Uptown, this is what's going down. You know what I mean? Like it's just like we're just trying to catch the killer, just like a regular old movie could have been made by anybody else.
Yeah. I don't know. When I think I was going to say, when I think about the unique style and perspective that Spike Lee has, I'm okay with Django being the way it is coming from Tarantino. I would be more curious to see how he handles something like a Pulp Fiction, something like a Jackie Brown. And I think it has to do more with the casting.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the reason why I'm saying the Django thing. Because the reality is there were a lot of like slaves who ran away. There were a lot of slaves who tried to kill their masters.
Right.
And they don't tell those stories. You know what I mean? You get the Nat Turners, you get the John Browns, you get all the ones where it was like they squashed the shit. Like somebody snitched or the time wasn't synchronized or something like that, right?
Right.
Like, but we gonna tell the stories they end the way we wanted them to end. But they don't tell the story about the ones who got away, except Harriet Tubman. They don't tell the stories about the ones who like took over their plantation and like did what they needed to do and like got up out of there. Like, and then not necessarily even in America, talking about, the Haitian uprising, you're talking about Jamaica, you're talking about all these island nations where, they took their freedom. And
yeah,
I think, there's a reason why. So maybe not necessarily Django specifically, but, a movie where like a black character from that point of view is not just like, oh yeah, I'm just take this shit because I'm strong of spirit and will and I have the moral high ground. It's like, nah, man. People was fighting back. Everybody didn't just take that shit laying down. And maybe some of those folks got killed, but like people was fighting back and those stories need to be told. And I think that would have been more his perspective on that, not like here's some white man who was riding through and decided to help him find the love of his life and teach him how
savior.
To that. Like,
I definitely think he would have avoided the great white savior trope.
Right.
That would have been a trope that would not have
It would have
existed.
felt. It would have felt more like a partnership.
Or the Dennis Bounty Hunter character never would have existed.
Well,
Actually, no.
Free?
No. I was about to say, no, he would have existed. It just would have been John Turturro, not Christopher. That's my little
Hey,
spike.
Jingo.
Right. It would have been John
I ain't
Turturro.
mad at it. I love that he works with all the same actors.
I love the actors that he works with.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And because they've been around for a while, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'd automatically go to, like, you know, barbecue invitations, but you know what I'm saying? I make them a plate.
I'll hand you a plate over the fence. Have a good evening. Going back home.
Oh no, I was just like, you know, make a plate, put some foil on it, you get it tomorrow. If you're a neighbor, you come back get it tomorrow.
No, that's real. Yeah, I think it is just an interesting idea that, like, there are kind of this subject matter that, you know, you don't even get to see him address a lot of times, because I think a lot of his stuff too is just like very, very, very just like black, and some people just did not want that. Like, I get it, like, white people not going to see Get on the Bus. I don't care who's in it. You know what I'm saying? And you talking about a list of, you know, Hollywood royalty from the black perspective. In some instances, Andre Brower, you got Ozzie Davis. I mean, and you talk, but it's about a controversial subject matter that, like,
it's gonna be a lot of seat squirming. You know, people not being comfortable in those seats. I fell down a little IMDb wormhole for a second. I went from Mo Better Blues, had Denzel Washington, showed other movies like this. Mississippi Masala popped up, and then I was looking at Mississippi Masala, and I was like, now who is this? Who is this lady in that? I remember that movie. That's the movie where he was dating that Indian lady. Oh yeah, there it is. Cool. And then I click on it, and I'm like, and who is this Indian lady? Like, you know what? She definitely looks like okay. And then as I go down, I look at the cast. Yo, that's the bad lady from the Miss Marvel show. She's the villain. She's the villain in the Miss Marvel show. I'm like, yo, that's her. How about that? Small world. And of course, as I'm just kind of looking through, I'm like, who would have thought? Like, I did not know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't seen Mississippi Masala.
Nah, I mean that's an older one. So I mean, you're not. It's all good on that one, but it's I don't know. It's just one of those weird things where it's like, and I don't know. I guess this kind of ties in a very small way to the conversation, but it's like they just have so few options of people they can call on. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think too, it's like when you have to make movies the way that he did, you just got to have people who you know you can trust. Like, if we can't be here all day long doing take after take after take. Ain't no reshoots, ain't no, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think sometimes with that, it's almost like you got when you have a band, right? Like, I think a lot of times we used to with movies, you know, the big name directors, they have this long casting process, and you know, they can go back and forth, and they can do tests and bring in different groups and cast this person, try this person here and there. And once Spike Lee get that check, the clock is ticking for him. It's no going back and getting more money. So I got to be locked in. And when I'm writing the movie, I'm like, I need Bill to play this person. I need Wesley to play this person. I need Denzel to play this person. I'm gonna play this role. Like, he's I feel like he's like writing the movie with that in mind as he's writing it, because he's often talked about sending the scripts to certain people, and it's like I feel like some of the not lower, but like some of the you know more general cast members, the people who you're gonna see, like when you go see a Spike Lee movie, you're gonna see Bill Nunn,
Yeah.
you're gonna see John Turturro, you
Right.
probably gonna see Spike Lee. You got a good chance of
Every one
seeing
of them.
Denzel Washington. Like,
Yeah.
you gonna see these. You might see Sam Jackson.
He's
Actually,
been
you
in a
will see
number of
Sam
them.
Jackson.
But see, Sam Jackson likes to be in those. I'm almost gonna say like he likes directors who have that unique thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's why
he's an
he's been in
artist.
like right. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing, because when you look at, and I think that's the other reason why when you look at like She's Got to Have It, great concept, but the acting is not on par with Do the Right Thing moving forward.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or School Days moving forward,
Yeah.
because you going from like Spike and people who are virtual unknowns essentially at the time, like the whole movie, and then you go from that to like Lawrence Fishburne, Kadeem Hardison, Jasmine Guy, Giancarlo Esposito. Like, even though everybody is kind of more in the beginning of stages of their career, still developing, like by
You
the
still have
time we
people that
watch
are
these
known.
movies now, when you watch that movie now, these are all people who and you know
It's an
them to be
all-star
quality
cast.
actors. So when
No,
when you're watching the
ultimately it's an
film,
all-star cast.
right? But when you're watching the film, like when people come on, when you're watching a movie and the actor walks on the screen, like if the actor is bad, you automatically are like taken out of the moment. And sometimes when you meet new actors in films or in shows, you kind of are like, I'm trying to understand like what this person is doing. It's kind of like this, like it's almost like dating, where it's like, do I like this person? Do I want to go out with this person again? It's like, do I like how they're doing this character? When I see Sam Jackson walk on screen, I already know I'm gonna like whatever he's gonna do. When I see Bill Nunn walk on screen, I already know I'm gonna like whatever he's gonna do. When I see, Denzel, when I see Giancarlo, when I see these people walk onto the screen, I'm already like at peace, because I know I'm not going to be taken out of the moment. They know what they're doing. They're comfortable with this director. This is not some newcomer, hot shot, up and coming who's trying to fit into the mix. These are real, seasoned professionals, and
Yeah.
I do think that's why they are. And I think a lot of those actors, especially the black ones, really understood like what they were a part of by being in all those Spike Lee movies, because Spike Lee essentially is the child of blaxploitation film. Like, of all the blaxploitation things that were going on in film, he was the one that was able to, like, as a black director, break through and be a household name, essentially, like the other directors were. And I think it's just a matter of like, people being able to see that and understand that and know like, okay, this is not going to be like the fattest check in the world, but I'm going to be in something that means something. I'm going to play a character that means something. I'm going to play a character that I know as soon as I see the script is written by Spike Lee, I as a black man am going to play I'm going to be able to play this role with dignity. Even if this person is not like a dignified person, it's not going to be undignified in the way they might used to be being disrespected by receiving certain scripts. Like Sam Jackson can play a criminal in Mo Better Blues, but he ain't, super like, oh, can you black it up? He's like he
Give
playing
me
that
more
criminal like
urban. I need more urban.
yeah. But he playing it like the real thing. And then he can go, Sam Jackson can play a crackhead, and it's not the way that a lot of times drug addicts have been portrayed. It's like that, like Sam Jackson as Gator, that's real. And he made you in that role. I feel like Sam Jackson really made you rethink the way that just we will see somebody struggling with drugs and addiction and completely like discard them as though they're not like a person anymore because they made bad choices, or look down on them and pity them when actually, like he always said, I like being a crackhead. That's what he was in his life in that movie. He didn't feel shame about wanting to go out and just dance in the street and have a good time. But
I mean,
you
you
know,
look at a Halle Berry in that movie.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I think
and I feel like
that's one of
that's
those
the
things.
obvious like cautionary tale is the Halle Berry one. Like you see that all the time. Like, oh, former girl so beautiful, strung out on drugs, stay away, just say no. You get the yelling at the camera at the end. But I definitely think like seeing a crackhead that was
No.
just seeing a crackhead on screen that was just like, that's what I do. I smoke the TV, mama. Like it makes me think about just like okay, what would this person be doing if there was no drugs? If we lived in a society where people could just like if you could just be a nomad, like there's people like who just have that spirit in them, but because of how our society is developed now, if you just a person who's like, yeah, I'm a nomad, I just be wandering from place to place. That's what
So you're
makes me
cool, man.
happy. I can't stand. I can't. Yeah, and it's like, okay, well
As
now
opposed, but see, like,
home.
no. See, the thing is, don't say you're a nomad. Say you're backpacking across the U.S.
Right.
Because when you say that, it's adventurous. You know what I'm saying? Like you're off the
But that's
grid.
not for us. But that's not for us. I mean, I think the way that Sam Jackson played that role in that film, you know, it
That was your
was.
uncle. That was
I
your
think it
cousin.
was water worthy, and yeah, and I think because like if you don't know no crackheads, then you might not understand why that was so powerful. If you've never dealt with that kind of addiction with people who like because you see addiction all the time shown on television on and in the white shows and you got Born on the 4th of July and you got all these other things, all these other movies that show really this portrayal of like I'm on drugs but I don't want to be, and you never really see that like now like I like what I'm doing. I haven't gotten to the place where this is like ruining my life. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I'll ever get to that place because I just want to have a good time. And I think yeah, just seeing that was it helped me understand some things about stuff that happened in my own family, in my own life. Um, and I think it's just like a nuanced take on like it's like that is a movie. That is a role written by someone who knows crackheads. That is a role acted by someone who was a self-proclaimed functioning crackhead. So once you put something like that together, of course you get a role like Gator. But
But
then
you get the right
once you
balance
get a
of
role like, but see, once you get a role like Gator, then that flies in the face of how they want any sort of drug use to be portrayed. Like you can't have it be out here like this dude on drugs and he like being on drugs. Even though you could look at a character like Gator and be like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be out just like dancing in the park for money for people to like. I'm gonna dance in front of this person until they give me some money to go away. You know what I mean? Like it ain't like I'm
right,
using talent and I'm singing. It's like nah, I'm being a
bullying,
weirdo on the stage.
straight bullying. No, I mean when I see a character like Gator, it is the right amount of serious, balanced with comedy, balanced with the social commentary that you're going to get from a Spike Lee movie. And you can only achieve that when you, after like a weird way of saying, you can only achieve that if in fact you know that character.
Right.
Because it becomes a little less acting and a little more just
Living.
showing you what this is. Because like there's all these people, you have all these method actors, they go out, they study, they ride with people, they da, 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 what I'm saying, they try to pick up their little nuances and add it into their performance, but they're acting. End of the day, they're pretending. Sam Jackson was remembering. Spike Lee was
Right.
remembering. Like I said, I'm looking at this character of Gator, and it's like I got a cousin like that. I had an uncle like that. You know what I'm saying? It's
I
like
mean, to be fair, I don't think Spike Lee ever was. I don't think Sam Jackson was ever at the point where he was dancing for money on the street.
No. But there was
But he knew some folks who was, because he had to go get his. That's who
I was
he
about
was
to
seeing
say.
when he went to go do his
I was
thing.
about to say it still comes from a place. When I say remembering, like Spike Lee, not a self-proclaimed crack addict, but he's witnessed firsthand, and he remembers. He can recall that information. I've never smoked crack, but I can recall because I've witnessed someone. You know what I'm saying? And it's like being able to see that. I don't know anything about meth, but I know people who have done meth. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I remember what they were like during that time. So it's like, okay, yeah, I could probably direct someone who's supposed to be on meth and be like, nah, you're not jittery enough.
Right.
Go put some more scabs on your arm and come back. It's like if you're not trying to pick your flesh off, I don't think you're quite there yet. You're not itchy enough. And so, Sam Jackson, definitely one of the people that you're going to find in Spike Lee's cast. They've worked together 6 times, I think. 6 times. I was looking up, trying to go through. I think I counted 6. It was Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, School Days for sure. I think they have one more. Chirac. I was about to say the Chicago one. Chirac. That one. Then, of course, like you said, Denzel. That's another one you can kind of expect. But I mean, and again, I don't think that's any different. And I think you make a very good point to say that it is needing that understanding. Like we are short on time. I need somebody that can deliver. And it's very likely that when that role was even written, it was written with that person in mind.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Brad?
It's crazy
talking about
how
some Spike Lee movies.
It's crazy how many actors he found either for their first movie or early in their career. Because I always bring up Giancarlo. The fact that people are like, "Oh man, where did this guy come from?" Gus Fring, and I'm like, "Fam, you are so
not where he came from.
You a lover of cinema, and you ain't never seen Do the Right Thing, and you don't know Bugging Out, one of the most famous street confrontations in the history of cinema. Like,
right.
You really just, so you're not an expert, so you don't watch everything, so you might want to take a seat because Giancarlo Esposito is new to you, and I've been he been acting forever. I know him from Fresh, even before Do the Right Thing.
That movie is so good.
Actually, was Fresh before Do the Right Thing? No, I think that was in the 90s.
No, Fresh was definitely after. What was the I remember I would have to go and look up her name, but the sister went on to do a couple more movies, and I remembered her.
Yeah.
And that one had Lawrence Fishburne as well. And it's funny because it's like I think there's There's a small group of actors who have probably crossed paths so many times. They show up, they're like, "Oh, you still take 2 creams of the sugar? All right, I'll be right back." You know what I'm saying? Like, whose turn is it to get the coffee? Like, they've
Well, and
just
it's also
gone
like that
back
was
and
back when
forth.
there were like back when there were New York actors and LA actors, and then there were like movie stars who shot wherever they needed to shoot. And so,
Right.
a lot of those guys who you see showing up in Spike Lee movies all the time is because they were based in New York because they were also theater actors working in theater still, like in between doing whatever like film roles they had. So, a lot of those
Okay.
guys too is just like proximity, as in like you're a New York actor. I can, I know you're going to be here. Plus, Spike Lee movies were so much about New York that it's like I know you can play these characters because you know the ins and outs of like who I'm talking about. Like
Right.
you've seen Radio Raheem walking around the streets in New York. You know,
Yeah.
bugging out. You know the dude who's always on the block and super loud and kind of annoying to everybody, but we let him rock. You know what I mean?
Huh. I have to say, that absolutely makes sense, but I don't think I had incorporated that as the reasoning.
Well, it's
But
like you get a lot of that too with like the '90s, with like why so many people end up repeating on like Law and Order, like done like multiple episodes. It's because Law and Order films in New York, or film. Well, I don't know if they still do, but they were filming in New York, and it's just like you're an actor in New York, and they trusted you. They'll bring you back. If you only played the dude talking, if you played a corpse and you did all right, they might bring you back as a dude who talks to the police who doesn't have time because he's got to restock the shelves before the morning rush comes in. Kill that. Maybe we bring you back as a victim, the victim's brother. You kill that. Maybe we bring you back as a bad guy. Excuse me.
now I will say that victim's brother, that's a big role because you're gonna get interviewed, you're gonna have some screen time, you know, big thing. But you do have to
Yeah.
crush that in order to be the villain. To be the villain of the
Oh yeah.
week, you gotta be consistent, like really nailing it. The whole new episode right here. Okay. Where would I know her from? I'll look that up later. But
So you know what we got to do. You know what we got
what's
to
that?
do. The least favorite thing in the world.
Well, we got to recast.
Top five.
Top five. We doing top five Spike Lee?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, let's see. If we go with um, Spike Lee director or
Just
Spike Lee
period.
joint. Okay, so like if he has a production credit or writing credit.
Sure. Whatever whatever you consider a Spike Lee film.
I got you. I got you. Part of me wants to open up with saying in no particular order, because I'm gonna open up with the remake Oh Boy. Um, haven't seen the original. I had to see what this version was gonna be, and it didn't disappoint. Movie's still weird as hell. Um, but having Spike Lee come in, put his touch on it, Definitely like that one. I am going to say Mo Better Blues and School Days are automatics for me. I want to put okay, no. So, oh boy, Mo Better Blues, School Days. It'd be very easy for He Got Game to make the cut, just because, like, who doesn't like that movie? Um, like Klansman. You know what? I'll pick a newer film, and I am gonna pick um, Black Klansman over the Five Bloods. Although the Five Bloods was maybe what made me think of like picking something newer. But I think if Spike Lee gets into his, you know, veteran director status, being able to pull in the new Washington talent, having John David Washington come in, I think that is that's a testament to his longevity and what he can pull off. Had Delroy Lindo in the Five Bloods. So, again, it was just one of those things where he kind of had the people you would expect. Say I got what, one more? So we got Black Klansman, Mo Better Blues, School Days. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna just grab the original. I think I'm gonna take the one where it starts. She's got to have it. Um, it is etched on my brain. I do not shy away from you know nostalgia and warm fuzzies. Going to the theater as a family. It's a fond memory of my dad. One of those things. So
That's
the
real.
movie.
I respect that. I'm not one of the people that's. I'm not one of the people that's like, oh, your top five is your top five, and whatever reason you have for that is
Yeah, I
whatever
mean,
reason you have for that.
she's got to have it. That movie has absolutely impacted me. Like, and probably because of when I saw it. But like I said, go back doing the math. Like, I don't even think I was 10 yet. But what I'm saying? It's like it's amazing because despite how old that movie is and how long ago it was when I saw it, I remember that experience of going to see it because it was a premiere. You know what I'm saying? And I go to screenings, or I used to go to a lot of screenings um, back in the day before we had our weigh-in Wednesdays, because a lot of like screening viewings are on Wednesdays. The movie comes out a lot of times on Friday, so they do a screening. either the Wednesday before or a week before on a Wednesday. I don't know why Wednesday, sometimes Tuesday, but most of the screenings I've been to always seem to be on like Wednesdays. Um, and I've missed a lot of premieres recently that I could have gone to that I had passes for. So moving forward, we're gonna get this bad boy on autopilot and be like, I'm not on tonight. I'm going to a screening. We'll do a review later. We'll let Jeff roll with y'all and let him put his hat on and get on here and tell you how what the world is really like.
I don't want to hear that.
Well, once you know what, once the whole production company is up, I can carve out a spot just for that episode, and it'll be independently funded if necessary. So, what would your top 5 be? What you got?
Number 5, Girl 6. Number 4, Mo Better Blues.
Okay.
Number 3, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Number 2, School Days. Number
Okay.
1, He Got Game.
Okay. All classics. Not mad at it.
And I mean, for
I
me,
will.
it's like this. I would say, how you say for you, seeing She's Got to Have It in theaters impacted you. And for me, I really, when I seen He Got Game a lot, anybody who knows me, my dad wasn't really like around like that when I was growing up. Me and him are in a good place now, but when I was growing up, he wasn't really around like that. And you think you're all right. You think you walking around like I'm good, and you don't really realize how much you do have pent up sometimes and stuff buried down deep. And that movie really was. It was one of the movies where it was just like had a big impact on how I thought about my relationship with my dad and how I allowed it to affect me moving forward. And I think, you know, more so than the technical ability that art is meant to like, influence and impact you emotionally. And to me, the best art is something that makes you re-examine something about your own life per se and can help you get to like a better place. So for me, that movie being my number one is a lot of me recognizing the impact that it had on me being able to kind of like not really harbor any sort of like feelings about whatever happened when I was growing up that would keep me from being able to really move forward in a constructive way with how I wanted to live my life. So I mean I agree with you. And I think too that's the power of like Spike Lee's movies. Like he makes movies that make you feel like I'm going to remember this. This is something that's impacting me beyond just like me watching a story on a screen. This is something that's impacting me in a way where I'm going to like fundamentally change the way that I do something in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, School Days has a lot of those moments in there, especially the moment, at the end with like Half Pint and um, I forget her character's name, which is even more indicative of, you know, the story and this that Spike Lee was trying to tell. But the gamma ray that he ends up like sleeping with, so that he doesn't have to like be a virgin when he crosses, and just like you're talking about now is the age of consent when Spike Lee's making movies about that in the 80s. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
many of the themes that I think people are kind of looking to a lot of this new age black art from people who I guess they feel like are more palatable now. And I mean, even like a character like a Spike is more palatable like now,
Right.
but are we still making room for the rabble rousers and the people who, you know what I mean? The people who are not just going along to get along with the establishment, but people who are actually saying like, through my art, I would like to make some sort of change and some sort of impact on this world that's very different than the one that maybe they want to let me make. But it's tough because baby got to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it.
Yeah. Let's see. There was Joy.
To my sister.
Yeah, I'm looking at a photo from school days, and it has like everybody in there, and I think the character you're talking about is Kim, Kyme.
That's her name in the movie. That's what's her real name? Tachina Arnold. No, that's Pam. Tisha
You talking about Toussaint?
Campbell.
Right, because John. You know what? Yeah,
Tisha Campbell.
yeah, that was Tisha Campbell's character. Huh. No, her name was Toussaint.
Her name was Toussaint.
Yep, it's like Jane. Let's see, School Days cast. She should be like essentially top billing for that movie at this point. Yeah, Jane
Jane
Toussaint.
Toussaint.
And see, and I
Okay.
thought I thought you might have been talking about the Rachel character, but she was the one that was talking to Lawrence Fishburne. Of course, you was talking about Half Pint. It is Tisha Campbell's character who sleeps with Half Pint, and then Giancarlo Esposito is upset because he's like, "What do you mean you slept with him? How could you? How could you do that to me? To you? Like, yeah." So.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene was hard to watch for me. I was like, man, this dude is like a real piece of shit.
Yeah, but you know, it's
And then
kind
you go
of
to college and it's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I get it.
just like I was about to sing a song from uh the Snoop Dogg soundtrack, not the soundtrack, but Snoop Dogg album, but we won't sing that song. But this is for the homies. Let's see.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, the huh, wannabes and the jigaboos. That was definitely a interesting group of people.
yeah,
All
and
the
I mean,
fraternity, all the hazing that took place.
I think even just like doing a musical number, just to express like the amount of disdain these two groups had for each other is a crazy. It's like a crazy choice in 19 whatever 80 whatever 90 whatever he made that to go in and be like, yeah, I want to do a big budget MGM style, like surrealist hair salon musical standoff between light skinned women and black and dark skinned women. Like, what what film studio are you walking in and pitching that and them like, oh yeah, cool, totally get it. Here's a check. Like, first of all, they don't even know about the beef. So you already behind. Like day one, you now you explain it. Well, here's the this and the that and the whoop de whoop, and it's just like, fam, just just make it yourself. And I think that's really what it often ends up boiling down to. Just like people just have to make it themselves. They have to do it themselves. And it's frustrating when certain groups have to do that more than others. And when you see people doing it that way for so long, but not seeing, you know, really the comeuppance, in my opinion, that I feel like is deserved. And it's a shame, really. It's like, I think, that's like we were talking about giving flowers earlier. I think that's kind of, that's just where I am right now. I'm like, even with my art, just like, I'm not really on like, oh, why don't like this group of people like this thing? It's like, man, y'all missing out. It's not on me to like keep you from missing out on, experiencing beautiful things in this world just because you want to stay within your comfort zone, and because you don't see the value in stepping outside of yourself and experiencing something new, and because you don't see, it's kind of one of those things where it's like a double-edged sword, where when you complain about America, people are like, why don't you just leave? But then when you stay and you do the things that they say you're supposed to do, and you still consider like an other, it's like, well, there is no room for me here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is like no room for a Spike Lee to truly feel like he can exist and be seen within the industry, because you gave an Oscar to, because you basically are telling him that driving Miss Daisy is better than do the right thing. And like, that's the crack talking. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. But if somebody wants to get a better understanding and see your vision and see, I don't know, maybe this weekend, where might they see this information coming up on September 29th, 30th, and October 1st?
Yeah, so I
So,
would say, like, for anybody in the public, definitely come out. I mean, if you want to just come out to the art show, we're gonna have like a DJ, and it's gonna be kind of like, it's gonna be a good time. I'll just say definitely come out on Saturday, Studio House Atlanta, 75 John Wesley Dobbs Avenue. It's gonna be myself, three other artists who've all done, varying amount of different style of artwork, just kind of showing our connection to Spike Lee's work. And then um, Sunday at 11 a.m., we're going to have a hosted artist talk where, we're going to sit down, talk through our work, talk about our process, and yeah, it should be interesting. So just depending on what you want to do, if you want to just come out, have a nice night out with the missus or the fam or whoever, come through the art show. Definitely would love to see everybody out there. If you want to sit in the audience and listen to more of my yammering about Spike Lee, there'll be other people there talking too, so it'll be less me. But if you want to hear more about just like the process of the different art, definitely come through the artist talk on Sunday morning. And I hope I did a good job with that plug, because promo is not my thing. And I'm just talking through the silence, so it's not awkward. I don't know if Sam's talking because I think he might have his microphone muted. You're definitely muted. You're muted, Sam. I can't hear anything you're saying.
There we go. So, you know what? I hit mute over here thinking because I could hear that playing, the clip I was making. I heard it playing and I was like, oh, nope, got to stop that. But I'm going to get that clip chopped up and I'll get that sent to you so you can put that out there. But is it appropriate to say that Studio House Atlanta, 75 John Wesley Dobbs Avenue here in Atlanta, Georgia, 30303. Recommended time for the full show is going to be September 30th between 6 and 11 p.m. And if you want to hear more ramblings about the appropriate term, the inspiration behind the art, Spike Lee being the inspiration and how that inspiration translated into this other art medium, you can come see the Artist Talk October 1st between 11 and 2. So, get up, go have some breakfast, and then head on down to Studio House Atlanta. There will be a live DJ, I understood, on the full show from 6 to 11. So if you got some time on the 30th, swing on by. That'll be the main show. If you want to hear what the artists have to say and, get inside the mind of an artist. I do it every week. And I enjoy it. I learn something every time. It is absolutely working with someone who is a creative like Jeffrey has changed the way I view things now. And I appreciate that. I can
appreciate those kind words. And I will say, I'm gonna just say, like, the art is gonna be very, very good. So if you're a person who likes art, definitely check it out. But also, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be posting like the art there probably in the next week or so after we get some like photos back and stuff. But I really have pushed myself to just step outside of, I've doing some things I've never done before, trying some things I haven't done in a long time. So really just wanted to take my opportunity to push myself to do kind of what Spike did and just say, like, does the art have to be this way? What if I do it a completely different way? What if I try new things? What if I, make it surreal, make it where it's not just this traditional thing of the way that you're used to seeing the art framed in the canvas. So I really hope that, I hope that people come out. I hope people enjoy it. But I will say, I've shocked myself with how some of my pieces have come out. So definitely am happy with how everything turned out. And, looking forward to seeing everybody. It's my first art show, but hopefully the first of many.
First of many. You heard it here first, folks. So hurry up and get out there. And you know what? Pick up a piece. Go to jp17.com. Get it early. Get it now before he blows up. So you can get one of those original pieces. Like get you a number 2 print. Get you a number 10 print. Get you something before we get to the hundreds. You get one of those low digit prints. Those will be the ones that are worth money in the future. That's how that works in those limited selections.
Right.
If you have the third one in the series, like, oof, you're clearly a collector. You got number 85, not so much. Still appreciate it. So 85, we want yours too. But yeah, man, I'm gonna watch me some Spike Lee this weekend. I think I'm gonna watch School Days this weekend. I want to hear I want to hear the ladies argue. I was
good choice.
I think I will check out some School Days this weekend. I do enjoy that movie thoroughly, and I think that'll be a good one for my company to see. That's something that there will be parts of it that will be recognizable as college, and the hazing aspect of the camaraderie and that sort of thing, but there will be some differences and some questions,
foreign ideas.
right? There will be some questions regarding these other aspects, like, wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? But it's this guy go pick up my kids if they were in trouble. So I mean, it'll be conversation that Yeah, we probably had before, so I don't think it'll be as much a shock. But that's going to do it for us tonight. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation about Spike Lee and his impact on cinema. Always easy to just like have some conversations, man. Whenever we just like when we don't have a specific topic and we just have to talk about stuff, like you fill up the room so well. You know, interviewing you is like so easy. Ask one question, chill for 10 minutes. It's lovely. But it's also great that there's always so much wisdom in the information that's being presented, and you know it makes for really really good content. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I get to go back and listen days later, and and I listen to a lot of our shows. I replay them, especially shows like this where we were just talking, and and I'm usually laughing at myself when I can't remember an actor or can't remember a movie or something. When I'm sitting there listening back, I know it immediately, and it's like, how can I not remember that at that day? Like the fact that I won't have remembered Tisha Campbell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I even know Jane. I even know Toussaint because of course it's like it's one of those things like people that like her name is Emily, but she's Amelie. It's like, girl, your
Yeah.
name is Emily. Stop it. Stop it. you know.
Thanks.
And so, again, it's just like the representation. I know people like that. I know someone just like that. And so it's always fascinating to go back and listen to the shows and see the parts that I kind of stumble over. But you've actually taken over. You do a lot more talking than I do now, which is good because I don't ramble. I don't ramble as much. I make my point. I say what I want to say, and I'm done. But it used to be
Yeah.
me
Now,
just like
now I'm the one
talking
rambling.
nonstop. But again, it's more coherent, and our topics have improved greatly. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not. It's we're having much better conversations these days. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. It's not me trying to defend, um, why Superman is a great character to somebody. It was funny though because I saw in group today somebody had posted something about Batman. I literally just had that conversation the other day. I was like, bruh, you know what? I got somebody I want you to talk to because he'll tell you where Bruce Wayne is really failing. But here's the short version. He's spending a lot of money on revolving platforms for the Batmobile, and they put none of that money into the infrastructure of Gotham City. None of that money went into the inner cities. There's no programs. There's no outreach. Where's that?
Yeah.
Where's
I
that
don't want to
money?
hear shit about the Wayne Foundation.
Where's that money going? My man got a whole plane hanging from the ceiling, but folks is breaking out of Arkham every week. Boy, if we'll put some laser bars up or something, spend that money wisely. But yeah. Anyway, that'll lead into a whole new subject. We'll come back and kick it on that. I think the next thing I want to talk about as we get ready to move forward, I know we'll probably be doing some spooky season stuff as we get right here close to October. Linda's feeling a little bit better once she wants to come back. She wants to do a little spooky season. Um, Hopefully, we get David on as well. We can go ahead and jump into some One Piece. I finished that up today. Um, it surprisingly it only took me like 2 days. It was actually a pretty good show, and I've got a lot of questions. I'm gonna do like a half anime show, so you can be a part of that one since you watched the One Piece, and so we'll get into
Oh
that.
yeah.
I think that's gonna lean towards next week, and if we can set that aside, I'll put that on the books for next week. But yeah, that's it for tonight. We want to thank our guests for stopping by. Had a couple people come by, say hello, say what's up. It's always appreciated and much love. We thank you when you do that. Be sure to hit the QR code there in the corner. Find us on all our social medias. You can find me, Elder Geek Sam, on TikTok, and you can find Grown A Geeks on Facebook and Instagram. Be sure to check out jpnt17.com for all of your fantastic art. You can get you you know what? I keep it right over there now. I'm just going to find a way to hang it up in the back. But I have a custom Spider Punk shirt. I say it's exclusive because I ain't seen nobody else with it on. Um, but you can head to the website. You can get one yourself. Again, that's jpnt17.com. But we are Grown A Geeks. This has been Way In Wednesday. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation. Look for us next week. You can find us every Wednesday, usually around 9:30. But for tonight, we are out of here. Peace.